Hey, everybody, welcome back into the Roosters on Olentangy River Road. The band is back together for Lettermen Live. Spring is in the air. Spring football starts tomorrow. The NFL Combine was last week. Conference basketball tournaments, I guess, are going to happen this week. I'm not sure anybody's really that excited to talk about that, but we can get into all of that. It's Lettermen Live. It's a wonderful day in Columbus, Ohio. That's Justin Zwick, Nicole Cox, Bobby Carpenter, Jeremy Birmingham, and I am Austin Ward. Got a little peek at the spring weather over the weekend. What did everybody do?
Oh, goodness.
Couple playgrounds out.
We were outside.
Yeah, playgrounds with my little one. And the dog got a lot of loving from the kids over at the park.
Oh, yeah. We took our dogs on a walk, too.
Yeah.
They were like, what's happening?
It's so warm. I could smell so many things.
Yes.
I mean, judging by the participation by my students this morning in class, I mean, they had a very fun-filled weekend.
Yeah.
Got out
little four kegs on Sunday night.
A lot of high
Got out on the high street, huh?
A lot of patio action, which I told them going in, hey, enjoy it. You know what? We might have 2 more weeks of trash before we get another good one. And it lines up like on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday like that, where it's really pretty nice. So enjoy
You
it.
give extra credit if they bring a receipt in from a patio beer.
I honestly should.
I could see that.
I'll give you some Rooster
With
Buck.
patio.
If you can get a time-stamped receipt before noon
Yes.
and after closing, can't
Ooh.
be from the night before.
Ooh.
It has to be before noon that has a beverage on it, then you get 1 bonus point.
Do you
Only
validate,
one?
Do you validate my drinking problem?
Yeah, exactly. So we had a great time. Well, check that. We had 2 swim meets. Normally I'd always prefer afternoon session, so you're not getting up super early. But sitting inside in a humid hot box when I'm like, it's so nice out there. Why can't I do that? But thankfully they're only like 2 hours, 2.5 hours long. So Saturday, Sunday, basketball tournament Sunday night, championship game for my daughter. 3 rules.
So exciting.
3 rules. Bijo's daughter's on the team too.
Nice.
3 rules. Try your best. Or actually, check that. Number 1.
That's not number.
Number 1, have fun.
Ooh, that is a good
Number 2, listen to your coach. I was thinking the 3rd rule was try your best, but I was informed by Bijo that it was win.
Oh,
And he goes,
3 is win. Okay.
win. And so we'd won every game. It was the championship game. They're like, you don't want to ruin it now. And so thankfully they got a nice little win on Saturday night. And of course, they held that game till 6 o'clock. I'm like, why can't we play this at noon? They're like, well, they want it to be the last, the primetime champ.
ooh, prime time
Prime
championship.
time.
8 years
Exactly.
old. How old?
5th grade.
5th grade. You got to have
5th
a
grade.
prime time slot.
Yeah, so it was entertaining. It was fun. We had a lot of kids sports going on there. Lacrosse starting up, all this nonsense, soccer, everything. So, but it was fun. Yesterday started a fire, hung out outside, had a Sunday fun day. Not so fun for the basketball Bucks, but what are you going to do?
Well, we can talk
I'm
about
gonna eat that
later.
chicken wing is what I'm going to do.
Championship weekend. The standard is the standard in the Carpenter house.
And we had some roosters yesterday, by the way.
Ooh,
Oh, thanks.
doubling up. I like
Back
That was
to
so
back.
nice.
Oh, yeah.
Berm, was there actually good weather in Michigan, or did we just have it all in Ohio?
No, it was fine. It
Oh,
was
okay.
like in low 60s and pretty nice.
Low 60s and
Didn't do
pretty
too much.
nice?
Cleaned up some dog poop.
Oh, I should have done
Pretty
that.
standard weekend fare.
What a lovely
Yeah.
lovely weekend.
Yeah, I mean that's my life.
Very exciting stuff.
We're adults.
If it's been months and months since the weather's been nice, I don't recommend going to the zoo the first day.
Ooh.
Oh, gosh, no. That's
You
a
did
terrible
that?
idea.
That
Did
was
you?
That was a misfire. On
We all
Saturday
know that.
afternoon.
Oh, yeah. And
I think we knew
The
that.
zoo
but we
was a
just-
zoo?
We couldn't. Yes, we
Literally.
couldn't resist.
Hmm.
We did it anyway, and
I love our zoo so much, though.
great people watching.
Oh,
it certainly was. It was a wild weekend.
it's the best, though.
But now that's over, and the great weather's disappeared for a minute. Doesn't matter because the Buckeyes probably going to be inside at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center tomorrow morning. Lettermen Row will be there for full coverage of all 15 practices of spring.
How great would it have been if you had yesterday's weather like Tuesday for practice?
Get
It would
them
just
out-
feel so good.
Get them outside on the grass field to get the real
Oh.
vibes going.
Like your energy level would just be so incredibly high, and you'd be thinking, I need to get done with this so I can get to a patio.
Ha!
And photos would be much better.
100%.
That's what all Burn was
Sorry.
worried about.
That's all I'm worried about.
Constantly monitoring the weather. But can't wait for that camp. Before we get into that, Nicole has to celebrate Chris Olave's 40 time. Garrett
I
Wilson.
mean, pretty amazing.
Big week for those 7 Buckeyes at the NFL Combine, highlighted by your guys, the wide receivers.
Absolutely. Chris Olave just setting records pretty much. I mean, the best was, what did you say, 4.2?
Yeah.
And I thought he was 4.26, and I'm going to still go
He
with
was.
that.
Yeah,
He is.
what a difference, though, right?
He was.
Isn't that kind of
a
crazy?
lot.
Just had one group where it seemed to be off by about 1/10 of a second. Another guy came like right after.
Because Garrett's
Chris
wasn't,
Olave.
his change wasn't that much, but
Yeah, I think
Olave
they got it.
at all.
I think they got it fixed over
Yeah.
that group that went because Garrett and Chris were not.
next
running.
they were putting some fast.
Yeah, it was like a 4.22 that came right after
Mhm.
Olave. So they were off by just a bit. But 2 guys that run sub 4.4. Ohio State actually had has done that before.
The only other team to do it, right?
Paris Campbell and
The only
Terry
other
McLaurin. So for anybody who seemed to be worried about the strength program and developed here some weird offseason storyline that popped up, seems like Mickey Marotti's still pretty good at it.
Wait, were we worried that it wasn't developed here anymore?
We got a bunch of questions about whether Ohio State was falling behind, Bob.
Well, I don't know about I guess the real question probably isn't the physical prowess of the players, their speed and strength, but it may have been more in the intangible category, like the toughness element. Like, are we still training them? Are we still training them as tough as we were before? Like, are we into too much of like the Ivan Drago now? Lots of computers and simulations. Do we need to go back to the barn in Rocky IV
Run the mountain.
and run the mountain with the wood and all the stuff? Like, do we need to get back just to the pure toughness element?
I think some people just get confused because they see someone like Jordan Davis at Georgia who's 6'5", 340 pounds, and just
he's not real though.
He's an anomaly, and that's what people. I think you see it on TV, and well, that's what it is now. But that's just not.
He's
what it is.
one guy they had that did that.
That's an anomaly, and Georgia's defensive line shouldn't be looked at and said that's the standard because
the standard is the standard, Berm.
Right, well, that standard is inconceivable.
Well, he's the first guy that's ever done that, and he'll probably be the last for a while.
Don't think it'll happen again.
I mean, that's not a strength program. That's called a birth plan. A
freak of
a genetic plan.
That's genetic.
Yeah. And Olave and Wilson had that too. For some reason, though, I just feel like, Nicole, somebody had forgot that these guys were incredible athletes. I don't know why. Like, Garrett Wilson sat down on Wednesday, I think it was, maybe Thursday. So when Spencer and I were there, it's like, oh, I guess people don't think I can run anymore. Like, they think I'm going to run a 4.55. Nope. Sub 4.4 for both of them.
Which is awesome. I mean, they gave us such a great show, as I like to say, just through all these years. And I think they're doing, I mean, I know there are only great things ahead for them. I loved seeing it all over social media, just how great they did.
Well, the combine is always, they want to tear these guys down. As much as they can, find any little nitpicking type thing going through the process. So to go out and shut everybody up, I mean, well, that's just how it is. You got to handle it, right?
I want you to imagine this, Nicole. Like, it's basically like you being in like the Mean Girls deal in high school, except all the teams there's like 32
Mean Girls,
and they're just going to be like, yeah, Nicole,
you got to go in and talk to each of them.
That's terrible. Oh, you think you were good at this? No,
you guys.
terrible.
I think we need to do a show and recreate it. And
you would
have
not
me go through it.
No, that would not be good for your psychological health.
Stronger person.
I know you. That would not be good.
The craziest part of the whole thing was that Nick Petit-Frere came in and he was like, oh my gosh,
fun.
This is an NFL flag. This is a microphone that says NFL on. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, I went through 8 hours of medical examinations yesterday. It was the coolest thing I've ever done. I'm on TV today. Like,
there was 32 different doctors that told me I didn't have a torn ACL.
This I thought that was a little bit refreshing, I guess, because Theron Munford had just been there. And I knew that he didn't have a good time.
Well, because his injury.
Everyone was asking about his back and his hip and everything else that he'd been through. And then Nick Petit-Frere, so Thayer says it's miserable, and we know that it's miserable because every other player that's ever done it has said that it's the worst part of the combine. And then Nick Petit-Frere is like, this is awesome.
Are we going to find out that Nicholas Petit-Frere failed his drug test, and that's why he thought it was so awesome?
He was just
he had some of those like happy gummies that you find at Target.
It's like, yeah, I get to do interviews with the media. Like, I get to talk about the loss to Michigan. It's super
this is
fun.
great.
Jay-Z, you're a Browns fan, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question.
Okay, that hit me.
Are you going to draft Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave? Go.
I hope.
Pick one. Tell me,
I mean,
tell me which
Garrett
one.
Wilson is not.
Tell me which one of those two you would draft as the GM of the Browns.
If I was going to pick who I wanted as a Browns fan, I would take J-Mo.
Whoa!
The third.
Now we're getting in
the third.
Which is, I know now what you wanted to hear.
No, that's because it was directly not what I wanted to hear. I was asking that specific question.
But I only do that because I think those two guys will be gone before the Browns.
Oh, look at that!
Look at that.
I mean, you're running that fast.
Trying to outsmart
Garrett Wilson is the top 5 draft guy in the.
Good
Garrett
for
Wilson,
them.
after that time on Thursday night.
I mean, they might not be there.
Wilson's not going to be there, and Olave is solidly in the top 20.
I'd be happy with all 3. I'll give you that.
I don't think you can do that. That'd be a lot of trading up.
Well, any of the 3.
It could happen.
He won't answer.
I don't want the kid from USC, which is what I saw on the mock draft. I was taking a kid, I didn't know who he was.
Drake London. He was the best receiver in college football last year until he got hurt.
He's a pretty good player.
Best wide receiver in college football?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
you get mad at me for saying J-Mo and you just call this guy
because
the
he
best
was like by
receiver.
himself.
How does that make him the best?
Because
maybe
he was
most
dominating every game with no quarterbacks and no one else around him and a terrible team.
Playing terrible team.
Hey, their coach got fired.
And the coach got fired like the third week of the year.
All right. Well,
Anyway,
anyhow,
that's not the point. The point is Justin Zwick will not answer a question.
Give me either of those guys. I mean,
all right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Thanks for
I think
playing.
I think they're both great.
Let's see if we can drill down on some more specific answers for guys that we want to watch emerge in spring practice, which starts tomorrow morning at 8 in the morning. It's going to be a fantastic 6 weeks at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Nicole, we're going to do both sides of the football. Let's start on offense with you.
Okay. It's been a while since we've talked, guys.
Yeah.
Mayan Williams. I think last year, Justin was talking about him a lot, how he was going to be so great. And
You don't have to listen to Jay-Z all the time.
But sometimes I make a little bit of sense.
He surprised us, and you can see his drive. And I had the pleasure of meeting him this past weekend at the job fair at Ohio State, and just the nicest kid, just so sweet. And so that makes me more invested. Like, I want to see this kid do great things.
Chris Olave has now been replaced.
Hey, he's out the door. Someone else has to step in.
That's right.
Okay.
Hey, if you're just friendly and nice and you talk and just kind, then yes, you're my favorite player by far.
So we'll be seeing Mayan Williams at Roosters.
I think
the Lettermen Live very soon.
The thing about Mayan last year is that he had an opportunity that I think kind of got taken away from him because Travion Henderson was so good. That now that things have maybe sort of leveled off and people know what to expect out of Trey, I think you will see Ohio State need to use a little bit more of option A, option B, as opposed to just run Trey Henderson.
I also think the fact that Master Teague was in the mix and being a senior,
He felt like obligated to give him reps.
Yeah, I think there's a little obligation there.
Yeah, but I mean, the guy started the first game, right?
Yeah.
And then the next 2 or 3 games kind of went missing.
I think you thought after that first drive of the season opener, Mayan Williams dashing down the sideline, whatever that was, 73 yards. Like, oh boy, well that's why he earned this job.
And then all of a sudden he just kind of went away for a little bit. And now Trey is amazing. I love Master as well. I mean, yeah, you got to get those guys run, but I don't know what it was, but they kind of got away from him. And I think with the new offensive line coach coming in, wanting to smash, hey, we don't care if you know we're running, we're coming downhill. Maybe mine is that guy who's a little bit more of a meatball. Is that
Yeah.
A little bit more of a meatball.
Meatball.
More of a meatball.
So that might help out in those instances where we need somebody downhill fast that can
take
take a hit.
Well, Nicole took
Mayan,
note of it.
don't call
Give
me
a hit,
meatball.
I should say.
That he's not quite the meatball that he once was.
Oh.
He's slimmed down a little.
He's half the meatball he used
half
to
of the
be.
meatball. So that's the lunch portion.
The lunch portion.
Bob, who are you looking for on offense?
Oh, goodness. On offense.
I'll go if you want some. If you want,
You take, 'cause
all right, I'll take it. And this is
gonna
not
be
me
easy.
being a homer.
I know where this is going already.
I was focusing on
Where?
defense first. I thought that's where we were going to
Aiden Ballard.
Jaden Ballard, yes sir.
go. Maslin Tiger. Chris
You know, I
Olave.
say
need
that
to shake
Chris
it up.
after this weekend with Chris Olave coming out and saying, "Hey man, as
Fastest
soon
man.
as this kid learns how to run routes, the way we do,
Yeah.
he's going to be special." And watching him in high school, I mean, he has the speed, he can go out there, he has the height, he has everything that you're looking for if he can get that route running down. And I know we have tons of receivers. I mean, Harrison's going to be great. Mecca is going to be amazing. I mean, Fleming, if he can stay healthy, there's no loss of receivers there, but just a Maslin kid who I've followed a little bit. I think some high
Does he have
praise
Devin
from.
Smith type speed.
He's freaky.
I
Ballard's freaky.
I agree. I talked to Spencer about that after Chris Olave's press conference. Like, they've really been missing that just pure ball.
And what happened every time Devin Smith caught a touchdown?
Well,
Ohio State won.
the game.
And so you get a guy who can stretch that field and go up and make plays for
Look
you.
at that.
That's really
And then you let everybody else kind of do what they need to do across the field, and but you have that burner that can go down, and you can trust that you're going to throw it up there, and he's going to do something for you. I think that could be big, and so I'm looking forward to him.
Last year, Ballard got in a handful of games, and they tried multiple times to get him the ball. And every time the pass was a little off, and it looked like every attempted catch was like a circus try, and he was this close on a number of them. And I think that he's a player that, as Chris Olave said, like once he starts to get a sense of what it takes to be a true wide receiver, not just a freak
He's
athlete.
just not a fast guy who can go out and make.
He's
a play,
he's a jumper. He's one of the best dunkers on the team. I'll tell you that right now. That guy's a
Good.
freak on the basketball.
playing
court.
some pickup games.
translates well.
Well, they could use a guy who could get some rebounds and play some
Yeah, I
D.
mean, they might
Bring him on over.
he might be a better dunker than anybody on the men's basketball team right now.
Conversations are bleeding over. Bob, who are you watching?
Tight end.
Joe Royer.
Yes, that's my guy. Gosh, I was struggling. 84?
Joe the Hair Roy.
Is that right?
Yeah.
84?
Yeah.
Like, listen, I saw a lot of good things of him in practice, And, when you're sitting behind a veteran guy, it's like, all right, they don't run a ton of 12 personnel. They do some. They did more the year before when they had Farrell as well, with Ruck. But I like Royer, man. I like what he can bring to the table. He's a good athlete. He moves well. He catches the ball. I know Kevin Wilson has a propensity to coach these tight ends really hard and firm.
You think?
And so it's some of those guys can maybe get in their head a little bit and get down on them. But I ultimately think a full year of this coaching and then him being kind of the dude that'll be able to be right there in the spring. Another offseason Marati, get him a little bigger. I like it because being able to have that threat over the middle, something that they don't utilize often, but it's a great thing to have, and I think he's someone that they may use a little more.
Royer's a better athlete than Jeremy Ruckert.
He's smooth.
He's a different type of athlete.
He's also a dunker.
But he's also needs to show he can be consistent, and that's the thing at tight end. That's why it's such a developmental position for the Buckeyes. But it's got to be Paris Johnson, right? If we're talking about who we got to watch.
Hello, Paris.
It's got to be. Nobody else picked him. It doesn't have to.
It has to be Paris Johnson. The entire offense.
My bad. I would like to change mine to Paris Johnson.
Yeah.
The entire offense depends on Paris Johnson's adjustment to be able to play a tackle and keep C.J. Stroud alive and healthy. And
did you find it weird how much conversation there was about Josh Fryer? Because
I don't.
Munford, and I've talked to a number of people, and I know that it's almost certainly going to happen. It has to happen that Paris is at left tackle. But every time they talk about it, they say, well, probably.
But Fryer is the guy who will take that spot in the inside where Paris is vacating. So I'm not surprised about Josh Fryer. I've talked about Josh Fryer a number of times. But Paris Johnson is a first-round pick at offensive tackle next year in all likelihood. And so this one season of him at that spot, I think, is just the most interesting thing to watch, especially considering Justin Fry's a new offensive line coach for Ohio State and how those two sort of their careers are, I think, at this point sort of entwined.
Intertwined.
I didn't say intertwined. I said entwined.
Oh, entwined?
Oh, entwined.
I don't think that's a word.
That's not a word, though.
Sure it is.
But
I love all the vocabulary I learned on this show.
I was with you.
The made-up vocabulary.
We were here.
Very helpful.
Irregardless.
Take that off. Take the ear off.
The reason I didn't think there'd be a ton of intrigue on the offensive line because I thought you could make that 5 going in, the same one you start with tomorrow that will be there at the end of April. But maybe that won't be the case, and I'm more intrigued by it than I was because Donovan Jackson, Josh Fryer, if you have a healthy Harry Miller, I don't know what's going to happen on those 2 interior spots. Matthew Jones is going to take one of them. And, even though they keep saying probably, you have to have Paris Johnson at tackle. DeJuan Jones out there. I still think that DeJuan could be
Big Thanos.
I think he could be sharper against the speed rush. I'm not sure what the offseason plan has looked like for him. I know that they've tried very hard to get the weight down a little bit.
Bigger.
Just
go. Keep going.
Just go like
Let
the guy
him
from
go.
Minnesota all the way
Yes.
to 400 and see what happens. I don't know. I want to see the offensive line, and then obviously with Fry there. Nicole's got a few minutes left, so she's going to give us her defensive pick. Then she's going to get out of here, and then we're going to come back for the second half of the show.
So I have 2 guys for defense. Zach Harrison, just because, he was amazing last year. It was fun watching him. Some may have thought he didn't live up to the standard, the hype. I blame that on the people who put the standard that high because I thought he did a great job.
Maybe they put the hype that high, not the standard, right?
Yeah, the hype, the standard, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, You hear that, Bob?
Mm-hmm.
What do you got to say about that, Carpenter?
Nicole is still
Preach,
talking.
Nicole. Go ahead.
I do believe that. I do believe sometimes that people can get hyped up so much that, it was like CJ Stroud, kind of similar to that. The standard was so high that it was impossible for him to reach that on his first game. So I think Zach Harrison had been talked up so big, and I still think he did a phenomenal job, and I think he's going to do great
tackles
things.
for loss.
Yeah, and he's going to do a great job next year too. So I'm excited to see him. And CJ Hicks, he's a freshman who I met at that job fair. Again, he, just such a sweet kid, and just talked to us, just seems like he has a great head on his shoulders. And just by his drive of wanting to learn more about our company and the NIL and his drive of wanting to make deals and the way he was talking, I was like, okay, he does this with football too. I can't wait to see him play.
Nicole, CJ's nickname is Captain Buckeye.
Okay.
So as you begin working out the NIL deals with CJ, figure out a way to put him in a cape.
I love knowing this stuff. Yes,
Well,
put him
please.
in-
Every
cape.
class gets a Captain Buckeye.
No one
Berman's
else-
really overselling.
No one else had earned the official.
So it's not like the Blocko.
There is no official Captain.
No one else had even been unofficially dubbed Captain Buckeye over the last 15 years.
It
Maybe
happens
not
every
back to
year.
Mike Brewster in 2008. That's probably the last one that really earned that.
You don't even earn it
The
as a
last
recruit.
Captain America that we
You
have.
start over. Tomorrow's his first spring practice. He's not Captain Buckeye.
Not anymore.
Come on.
Thanks, Austin.
Well, so how is Nicole supposed to put a cape on him if he's not even earned it on the
Everyone
field?
needs to wear a cape at some point.
Oh.
Bob, when was the last time you wore a cape?
Goodness, I haven't been a superhero in a while for Halloween, so I mean,
I
Everyone
don't think I ever was. I was a
Capes.
Ninja Turtle, but
I
they don't
wore
wear
one
capes.
to clean up dog poop this weekend.
I mean,
You're out in the backyard
You're the
flying
hero.
around. Probably had a broom in between your legs
Now.
playing some Quidditch.
Now we're getting to the weird
Yeah.
stuff. It took a while. You were holding it in for a while.
Hey, is there Appetizer Tuesday?
There is.
There is.
I'm glad you asked.
Mini
Daisy.
corn dogs.
Hey,
Corn dog.
all
Those
right.
look really good too.
Got some nice mustard to dip.
they go great with the mustard dip.
Gotta get the
sauce.
ketchup.
I know that the Carpenter kids love the corn dogs.
They
Those go
do.
home every week.
which is so sweet.
$2.
awesome.
$2.
$2. Make it holla.
And Bob's got something new right here.
Oh.
Ooh, go ahead and
I
hit us.
stumbled upon this, the Lenten menu
Yes.
for our Roosters Catholic friends during Lent. We've
Yeah.
got a fish basket, a fish and shrimp basket, a shrimp basket only, a fifth sandwich, fried shrimp, buffalo cauliflower,
A fifth sandwich?
and a variety of soups. They all
Wow.
look good.
I know the fish sandwich has got the Bill Zwick check
A
of
generous,
approval.
a gen-
I love
Says
that.
it's delicious.
It is. It's really good.
well, it's a generous portion
Mm.
of battered fried cod
Oh,
served
I'm
with
Gonna
your
hope it
choice
was
of
cod, yeah.
curly fries, potato wedges, or tater tots.
It'd
Comes
be
with
better
a
if it
lemon
said
wedge.
chips.
Well,
I
don't
mean-
worry.
Hey.
On
Uh-oh.
no, don't get it.
The way she
On-
said it.
I
Daisy.
know. I
On
thought-
social media, we posted the pictures from last year of the Lenten menu, and someone was like, "Hey, the chips are in there." I was like, "Oh God, I hope
Uh-oh.
Daisy
Yes.
didn't see this."
I wish I would have.
So we had to
screen
delete it.
grab.
I would have went
Just-
nuts.
put 'em
Justin's like, it says fish and
Yeah.
chips. This is confusing.
Got so
I can't
excited.
take this.
And Nicole, big week for Roosters with the basketball tournaments starting.
Yes.
Conference tournament Thursday night.
Yes.
Buckeyes will be playing late, so Roosters will be the spot for that.
Yes.
And then
Do they play Thursday night?
Thursday.
I haven't
Oh,
seen
9 o'clock.
Oh, nice.
wow.
I know I can see about 15 minutes of that one.
That's why you need to win
Yes.
a couple games down the stretch.
More than one out of your last 4 games.
So I know Nicole's putting together some huge plans for March Madness.
Yes, come in here. I mean, it's always our favorite time of the year. It's a really neat environment in here. People come in. They've come in here for years to watch the games, and so we're just doing that again this year.
There's no better place to watch than a fun casual joint. That's what Roosters is. They are a proud sponsor of Lettermen Live. Great to have Nicole Cox, as always, back in the mix with us on the show. We're going to take a quick break. She's going to get out of here. We're going to talk a lot more about Ohio State Spring Camp coming up next on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint, but the truth is, it is so much more. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind. It's a front row seat to the big game. It's a place where you will always find a friendly face. And the home of wings so big you won't believe it. It's your family's other dinner table. So yeah, we're a lot of things to a lot of people. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Precision engineering, rigorous attention to detail. A Bryant Evolution heating system is so well designed, it's as much of a joy to install as it is to use.
Good to go.
For the dealer nearest you, visit Bryant.com.
All right, welcome back into the Letterman Lounge, rolling right along as we saved a lot more defensive discussion for Ohio State Spring Camp for the second half of the show. Jim Knowles, this is it. You're getting started. Ryan Day wants you to be the head coach of the defense. This is 15 opportunities to install, to sort out the personnel, figure out what Ohio State's going to look like, and if they can crawl out of a couple of the worst statistical years in school history. No pressure, right, Bob?
I mean, listen, I think there's been worse than that. I mean, they struggled a little bit, but
Two of the worst.
3 of the last 4 years.
It's statistically accurate. The numbers don't lie.
well, here's the
The
thing.
fact that 2019 happened in the middle of 2018, 2020, and 2021 is actually the hilarious thing.
Yeah, well, there might be some truth to that as well. But the prevalence of which offenses play today, it's a little bit different than what it was 30 years ago. So there was some bad, there was some bad defense.
So you want to skew it for the juice baller?
No, I'm not. I'm not saying. They have some inconsistencies, things they've got to get fixed and cleaned up. I think they still have good players and there's good talent over there. There's maybe a little bit of a communication issue and just alignment and everything. Whereas I feel this year, we'll see how that goes. You're bringing in Jim Knowles, a new system. Hopefully he'll be able to step up and, correct a lot of those things, get everybody on the same page. Because this system, everyone's like, before it was too simple. I'm like, well, the counter to that was Greg Schiano, which was incredibly complicated. I'm like, somewhere in the middle is usually what works the best. But Jim Knowles, let's not act like it's just like a lineup and play situation. They run a lot of different stuff. They do a lot of different things. And so it's going to be important for those guys to make sure that they utilize each one of these practices and the meetings to kind of absorb all of the base stuff so you can continue to build off of those base concepts during the season.
How much will they have done by the middle of April, do you think? What you guys have been through this before, and whether it's offense or defense, installation.
I bet
they gotta have a good idea right now, don't you think? Going into spring ball, just based off doing their own work or working with some of the guys that came in. The kid from Oklahoma State that came over. Maybe he's been kind of in the classroom helping, getting things going there. But
was he home alone?
Kevin McAllister.
He's been reunited.
Okay, perfect.
He's been reunited. He found mom and dad.
That's good.
Or they found him.
By the way, I watched Vision Quest. And I'm pretty sure Loudon Sway, have you seen Vision Quest? I'm pretty sure his grandpa is the neighbor in Home Alone. Go back and check it out.
Al Borland? No, Al Borland was the coworker.
He was Tool Time.
Yeah, this is Tool. Not the neighbor. The guy who clubs him with the shovel at the end.
Oh, I was thinking of
what
Home Improvement.
He's Home Improvement. I'm like, Al Borland was Tim the Tool Man.
What a wild
Taylor's sidekick.
Woo! What a wild journey this was.
Yeah, just check that out.
I'm like, I've never heard of Vision Quest, and Al Borland came out. I'm like, I know that name.
The fact that you haven't heard of Vision Quest is a crime.
Yeah, maybe.
I hadn't heard of it until I got to Dallas, and Romo was like, "How have you not seen it?" The promo literally says, "If you like Rocky and you liked Karate Kid, you'll love Vision Quest." My kids are like, we like both of those. I'm like, then you're going to love this.
What else I love is Galaxy Quest. You ever seen Galaxy Quest?
I have not.
That has
never heard of that one.
Battlestar Galactica, all of it.
That makes more sense.
He's crying over his Al Borland thing. The wings aren't even out
that
there
has
yet.
Tim Allen in it. But that's not the point.
Is that where Tim Allen is the general, the command? Oh, gosh.
That movie's hilarious.
I have seen
That's a great movie.
Six Shades of Home Improvement is
That's a
playing
great
out right
movie.
now.
Seen more of that than I care to admit.
It's a great movie. But here's the thing. If the Ohio State offense scores any
Santa
points
Claus
in the
was the
spring
best.
game, should Jim Knowles be fired?
Ohio State.
If the offense scores any points in the spring game, should Jim Knowles be fired? Should we start the bandwagon? Should we?
Yeah, they're going to score points.
Should we create the firejimknowles.com?
No, they're going to score points in the spring game.
Oh, man.
I hate to tell you this because you get real
That's
thin.
disappointing, Bob.
The two position groups.
The standard.
It is the standard. Nicole wants to lower expectations. I'm trying to raise expectations and hold people accountable to them. I do think there is a difference between hype and then the standard of play, and where people get overhyped and it's not really fair to them of what the expectations are, because the expectations can even supersede the standard sometimes. I'm just asking you to go out there and play hard, play smart, and dominate and prepare, and maybe not lean into the hype as much and maybe lean in a little bit more to what we need to get done and lean into the standard, if you will. But
I will.
As we digressed and moved all around, so to speak, they're going to score points. The two position groups that are always decimated by the end of spring are defensive backs and offensive linemen. And so as that happens, usually it's don't hit the quarterbacks because we can't protect them. And then since they have all time to throw and never get hit, you get some DBs back there. It's like, and these guys probably wouldn't normally be out there, and they're up much higher than they should be. You saw it happen last year.
You mean like when DeMario McCall had to cover Chris Olave on the deep ball?
Yeah.
Good luck.
What's crazy about last spring is that we were talking about this then and saying, well, we got a lot of guys that are out in the spring. They'll all be back by the season. Things will be normal. And they just never got back to normal. So spring football is extremely important as far as how
Sevyn Banks coming back?
No.
Okay.
Not at this point.
He gone.
We could talk. Okay.
Isn't he in the draft?
Here's the situation. Sevyn Banks had made his intentions clear that he was going pro.
back in like
That
August.
was all throughout the season. He participated.
Is that why he didn't play?
No.
He participated. He walked on senior day. He was dealing with a significant hip injury.
Okay.
That's what kept him out of the last 2 weeks of the regular season. That's what kept him out of the Rose Bowl. He was still intending to go to the NFL draft. He received an invitation to the scouting combine. After he got some feedback about the actual severity of this injury, which was compared to Bo Jackson's hip.
That's not good at all.
Oh.
He said, well, it may be in the best interest of Sevyn Banks to try and come back. Well, he wasn't enrolled in classes for Ohio State when the semester started. Ohio State, their scholarship situation, they had already
filled,
moved on, and because they had been consistently told that Sevyn Banks was not going to be part of the roster moving forward. There was a conversation in February with the Banks family and the Ohio State coaching staff, and they laid all that out. And they said, you could try and file an appeal and a waiver because we're not enrolled in classes to try and get back in Ohio State if that's what you want to do. It's going to be hard. There's no guarantee, this, that, and the other. Also, his health may not even allow him to play next year. That's hanging over here on the side of that. But he entered the transfer portal. To the best of my knowledge at this point, he's not found a place to play. That's, I think, going to be the hardest part because nobody knows when he's going to be able to play on that hip.
Or if he's going to be able to play.
So, no, to answer your question. Bob,
Long story short.
That's the situation.
Not at this time.
We're not going to bank on him.
Do not.
Okay.
Take it.
I'm just always curious what happened.
Yeah.
You just gave everybody the story of inquiring minds wanted to know.
Yes.
If you look at the secondary, though, I mean,
He was supposed to be part of those reinforcements that we talked about.
you have Cam Brown coming back this year, which is obviously huge, but Cam's been dealing with his own injury issues. Then you have the young guys, the Jordan Hancocks, the J.K. Johnsons. If any of those guys get hurt in the spring like you're talking about, all of a sudden that issue that was percolating last year percolates again heading into this season. I think that's a real concern because that is one area they're still pretty inexperienced.
Is Court Williams, where's he at?
He's at safety. He's back.
I mean, is he healthy?
He's good to go.
Yeah, good to go.
We'll see. Josh Proctor, I think, is one of the more interesting guys if we talk about people we're wanting to see. His timeline to be out there participating in winter workouts, going through spring. I don't know how much Ohio State is going to let him go. They tend to err on the side of caution with these injuries, rep counts, snap counts, and all that, pitch count. He also needs to learn a new system. So I wonder about the balance with that, Bobby. If he's physically able enough, how much do you want him out there? What's the balance of that?
Well, he can move around. He's just not going to hit anybody. And the good part is I've never had a question of Josh Proctor's desire or willingness to hit
somebody. Yeah.
So he can go through, for defensive backs, a lot of it, and he's going to play mostly middle of the field safety and be deep, but you can bring him down. But it's understanding, looking at stuff from a 7-on-7 perspective and being able to understand that and move around. That's the one position I would say where if you're going to have an injury that allows you to be non-contact but still move and run, it's honestly probably the best one. Because at corner, even you want to work on your jams, your hand press. Like a lot of Josh Proctor is just going to be seeing things, identifying stuff, and communicating. Seek and destroy. And so it'll be interesting to see how between McAllister, Proctor, and then Court Williams, who Court is going to be on the field. They're going to have to get him out there, assuming he stays healthy. He's really good, and he's a much different body type than those other guys. And so whether they're getting him in the box, whether, whatever it is, he's doing some overhang stuff. But he's a physical dude. He was a highly rated guy. He's a rock star of a human, works his butt off. Like, that's the guy who I'm on the defensive side really intrigued to see how they ultimately use him.
Do you think that would be in the same sort of role as Ronnie Hickman, Bob?
Well, that's the thing. You have Hickman, too.
And Bryson Shaw.
Yes. And so all of these guys trying to figure it out, and I don't know if you get Court to play a little more than nickel and your guy Cam Martinez that you love. Is McAllister, is he that good? I've only watched a couple games on him. I know he was all Big 12, but being defensive all Big 12, that's
he's coming into Ohio State to play football.
That's fine.
He's not here to serve as an ambassador for Jim Knowles.
I understand that.
So the expectation is that he's good enough to start. So I guess we'll find out. He still has to prove it and prove that he's better than these Ohio State caliber guys that they recruited,
which are really talented
guys. And
the one leg up he has, though, coming from the system, right? That might be a guy saying, man, he's maybe not exactly where we want him to be talent-wise over these others, but we can put him out in the field, and he's going to have everybody in the right spots. He's going to be able to talk everybody through what we're doing as a defense, and that might
it might
jump
provide a bridge for Cameron Martinez to learn and eventually maybe pass him up. I don't know. We're going to see once they get on the field.
There's so many guys on this defense because last year was such a disaster in so many ways, but not even just from the output or the way that just injury-wise. They were just decimated all over the field. I'm extremely excited to see Mitchell Melton healthy and playing linebacker. He's a guy that they were really, really high on last spring before he got hurt.
Yep.
We've talked to a number of different people, and the one name that keeps being mentioned is Jordan Hancock at corner. Mm-hmm. There's an expectation that Jordan Hancock is ready to take that next step to be the guy. Maybe, I mean, we talked about Denzel Burke last year, sort of unexpectedly, but Hancock is the guy that people are really hyped about. And if you have a guy like Jordan Hancock opposite Burke and Cam Brown, then all of a sudden you've got something really special potentially there with that trio.
Just put him on, Bob. He's.
I wish if there was a way.
Schlegel's gone.
Oh yeah.
Loop in Schlegel's to
Get this off mute.
If there was a way.
He screams loud enough.
He really does.
He knew that we were talking about linebackers, silver bullets, and defense, and he wanted to jump in the mix. Jay-Z, is there a name we haven't mentioned that you think is important here? We haven't really talked about the defensive line.
Well, I was just going to say, we were talking about these elite players that we have, the 5 stars and this and that, and I think this is going to be a big year for the Sawyer and the JTT to kind of become the guys. You still have Zach Harrison there, and you still have some guys, Tyler Friday, and guys inside there that can, give you some extra bodies, some rotational value, because they like to rotate these guys in, or so it seemed last year they did. I don't know if they'll keep that up again, but there's a lot of bodies there. Just you got to get these guys to play up to their potential, and I liked a lot what the young guys did last year. I think another year of growth, getting stronger, bigger, with the weight program is going to be good for them, and then having a guy like Zach Harrison there to learn from, to pick up little things here and there, I think that's just going to help them. But if you can have that kind of rotate where they're actually getting the pressure and they're coming through on their 5-star rating, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential there, and it's going to be great.
If you look at that defensive line with Tyler Friday coming back, potentially sliding down into the.
Oh, he's sliding inside. Coach.
You got to.
I felt like for 2 years that had to happen.
Javonte Jean-Baptiste is back.
big, yeah.
Zach Harrison's back. I mean, you have Ty Hamilton back. You have pretty much the entire defense returns, and that's something that, again, it sounded like a lot of excuse making in the last 6 months, but they were the youngest team in Division I college football, Power 5 football. There is a ton of guys coming back, and you look at it and it's like, oh, I forgot that guy's back. Oh, I forgot he's still there. I mean, Jerron Cage, Teron Vincent, the entire linebacking core is back after the guys that
with the addition of Cade Stover
with the addition of Stover now,
and Steele playing a year there. I mean, it's
right.
Train him.
It should be a defense that is much more aggressive, and I think last year where it seemed like they were rotating parts in and out to try and figure out what works. I think this year, because a lot of the pieces are more like to like, I think you can bring in guys and just keep rolling them in without having to change completely the style. I think last year, one thing that you saw when you bring in Taraja Mitchell and you take out Tommy Eichenberg, or you take out Tommy Eichenberg and bring in Craig Young, for example, like the entire style had to change. I think these pieces are more similar, and I think it allows for you to be more just go instead of like go and then stop and see like what the hell.
Yeah. So for all that being said, I think this spring is just huge as far as getting the system down.
Right.
Learning the not technology, but all the different calls, all the different things that go into his defense, being able to play fast when you're out there on the field. I think that's going to be the biggest part for this defense in these 15 practices that they get.
Can't wait for that. Berm, Spencer, and I will be there tomorrow morning getting ready for full coverage of Ohio State's spring camp. Also,
what time are they letting you guys in?
8 a.m.
I'm going to be there as soon as the doors open.
Do they kick you out 15 minutes into practice?
I think we're getting 45 minutes.
That's what they used to do to our guys back in the day.
They
got to see us warm up.
It's spring ball. We get
more access in the spring, Jay-Z, because, and also tomorrow, as you guys know, day 1 and day 2, the acclimation period, you're going to be seeing who's in attendance and maybe not a lot, and who made the biggest gains in the.
Oh, I love gains
day.
It's also recruiting season. Recruiting's back.
No,
thank God.
Is it?
Tomorrow's great because we get to see a lot of young guys who are there visiting for the spring practice. You get to see like who shows up.
Dudes always never stop.
Got to look.
Love those young.
There's a couple young linebackers in Ohio that are visiting tomorrow that I'm really excited to see.
They good. They got a good young crop.
They're really athletic and
thick and fast.
They're they're on the ascent. And
Green Arrow up.
It's very exciting to see young guys getting. 2 years ago we saw Ty Hamilton at the first spring practice, and I was like, oh, Ty Hamilton looks pretty good for being Devon's brother. And next time we saw him like 3 weeks later, he looked like he gained like 20 pounds and looked like a totally different guy. I was like, holy crap, how'd that happen?
20 pounds of muscle and an attitude to go with it.
Yeah, basically.
You love to see it. That's
anyway
coming for the next 6 weeks. Thursday night.
Hey, I have a question.
He's not done with you.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
what's your favorite kind of mustard? Are you a yellow guy, a brown guy, a spicy guy?
I like spicy.
Spicy brown
I like
mustard
spicy brown mustard.
Is the king of mustard.
My dad likes the classic
Honey mustard.
yellow. Oh, honey mustard is
Hey,
good.
coming in with that
A little variety.
But I don't like mustard.
That doesn't.
But if you did, you'd like.
If I
honey.
did, it'd have to be honey mustard.
That's why he went.
Vlade, at Vlade's, I used to let Vlade put some brown mustard on the sandwiches back in the day. But honey mustard was
Traditional yellow is actually the worst mustard.
ugh.
Hard disagree.
Really, you and my dad, Berman and my dad can be buddies together then because they love just the classic yellow. I call that the white trash mustard. I mean, give me something more to it than that. This is just so bland and plain. Give me something more. Okay,
Spice it up.
You can spice it up. For someone who likes spicy food, the fact that spicy brown mustard isn't your favorite mustard
I'm not
is.
saying I don't like it. I'm just saying that I prefer.
Well, the fact that that's not your favorite.
He
I
lives
think
in
is the
Michigan.
upset.
He calls it maize.
That's
Yeah,
Maize.
it's traditional.
It's maize mustard.
mustard. Wow. Now we've got to
terrible.
the bottom of that. That's
the end.
a disturbing fact.
That's a good spot to stop.
Wow, I was going to ask what you thought about the loss to Michigan for Ohio.
Oh, that was a good.
Going into
Well,
Thursday
yeah.
night because Roosters is going to be the place to watch the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, this is a very disappointing last couple of weeks for the Buckeyes. 7 games in 15 days is a lot of basketball.
It is.
There has been.
Sort of the way it works this time of year.
Well,
no,
they
not.
they
Well,
had
if you're going
two.
to win a conference tournament, you're going to have to play.
Yeah, but they had.
But now they have to play this many more again.
And if you were going through 2 weekends of the NCAA tournament, guess how many times you played?
But
Okay, but
the other
4
teams,
times in 9 days.
the other teams are playing the same
not-
amount. They had 2 extra games
Yeah.
jammed into the back end.
7 games in 15 days leading
Soft
up to
jab.
tournament time is a big deal. The injury issues are just unbelievable. I've never seen a basketball team struggle to keep people on the court like this in my life of watching basketball. Basketball is not one of those sports where you like rotate guys in and out every week because someone gets hurt. And this is just, it's been pretty crazy. Certainly they need Zed Key to be 100% heading into this tournament. They
Played
gotta
like
get
6 minutes.
They got to get. Well, I mean, he played good minutes.
Yeah,
and
then he
hurt
rolled his
himself
ankle
again
and
and had to roll out.
Yeah. Roll out.
Luda.
Kyle Young's issue, whatever it is. I mean, if he's not playing,
It's some
a
stem
different
cells
team.
in his brain for that
It's a
concussion.
It's a
Something.
concussion.
It's a different team without him, and you wonder. Malachi Branham had that stretch where he was sort of on fire. If he's come back down to earth in that little freshman swoon, if people are just figuring out how to guard him a little bit, he's been a little off in the last couple of days. But overall, it's the same team that they were 2 months ago. So you got to just figure.
They can be really good. They can
You
be
just don't
average.
know.
I think when they score 70 points, they're like 14-2 or 16-2. When they fail to score 70, they're like 3-8. So
You want to get to that 70?
I don't know if it's more of the function of their offense needs to get to 70, or it's a function of defensively they're not good enough to hold
They
people.
got
Defense has been brutal.
Well, they turned the ball over a ton.
I think that just
There's
drives
all kinds
home
of-
the inconsistency of this team because it could be either on a given night.
Yep, or
You're
both
right.
sometimes if you're lucky.
Both.
Yeah, if you're
That's
lucky,
right.
yeah.
Either or both.
Yeah.
And
A little bit of both against Team Up North this
if your big man's out, you hope for both of them.
we talked about it last week. Just what are the actual expectations for this team? Because Chris Holtmann is about to face a referendum, and if you'd won 3 of the last 4 and you had a double bye, maybe you say, "Well, it's another successful season. It's 20 wins.
They didn't have to win 3 of the last 4. They just had to win one more game.
One more, and would have done it."
Nebraska, Michigan, any of those games would have given them that 4th seed.
Right. Those are not losses that you should be accepting this time of the year. Nebraska, Maryland it's been bad. Nebraska has been inconsistent. Michigan's been inconsistent. Those are 3 games you have to win. And to lose those ones make that 3 of the last 4 that much harder to swallow because you go to Illinois, you win an incredible game there, then you get Michigan State and you beat them. You lose these other and that to me is the frustrating part because to me that signals a team that is playing down to competition, and that's not acceptable.
And that was a short-handed Michigan team that they played on Sunday. You're missing one of their best players, missing their coach.
Their best
But
player.
then we were just talking before. We did the same thing last year, right? We had a 4-game losing streak going into the Big Ten tournament. Then we made a run, got everybody back on the boat, and then we lost in that first round.
And they were tossed over the side,
Yeah, quickly.
which you never want to.
Overboard.
No, you don't. You want to stay
Never
away.
wanna
You
get
want to.
thrown
You want
off
to
the boat.
stay away from the railings when you're on a boat.
Yeah, you want to stay safe. So we'll see. Thursday night, come check that out at Roosters. We'll have full coverage of that of that game and any others that Ohio State plays in Indianapolis at LettermenRow.com as well. Appreciate Nicole Cox for having us back into the Letterman Lounge. As always, for Letterman Live, that's Jay-Z, Bob, Burham, and I'm Austin. We will see you next week at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint.